Blue lights flashed across the cul-de-sac, reflecting off the chrome bumpers and the perfectly watered grass, while a woman in a floral visor stood in the middle of the street shrieking, clutching a pistol like she was afraid to put it down or maybe didn't know how. Her voice cracked, panicked, the whole tableau surreal as hell. My son Milo, just 7, was crouched behind my truck tire, Nerf football in one hand, juice box in the other, eyes wide, totally frozen, like the world had suddenly flipped from Saturday cartoons to a crime scene. You ever see something so out of place, your brain just stalls? That was me, right then. The deputy's voice sliced through the chaos, calm and flat. "Ma'am, set it down." And she did. Her hand shook. The gun hit the pavement with a thud. Somewhere a neighbor's sprinkler clicked on, rhythmically, as if the world just kept spinning no matter what. That was my neighborhood, Maple Crest, where the squirrels had more personality than the people and I. Connor Hale, age 39, wrote technical manuals for a living, kept my hedges squared and my opinions rounded, stayed out of trouble, or so I thought. But that was before Bethany Crawl, the queen bee of the Homeowners Association, came knocking. Bethany, with her ruler and clipboard, face stuck in a permanent scowl, would snap pictures of garbage cans left an inch too close to the curb, send out emails with a friendly reminder, disciplinary, in the subject, and treat conflict like it was her favorite sport. I tried to keep my head down, but Bethany made that impossible. At first, it was little things, passive-aggressive notes taped to my door so hard they left glue residue, fines for things like sidewalk chalk vandalism, lemonade stands labeled as unauthorized commerce. Milo and I netted a whopping $8.50 and 3 compliments from the sweet elderly couple down the road before she hit us with a violation. I started to feel like my life was being measured out in orange flag stakes and all-caps emails. She'd show up on her tiptoes, dragging her step stool over so she could peer into our backyard, claim our Nerf football was a non-compliant recreational sphere. The kicker? She sent out newsletters to the whole block, using stock photos of sad kids behind chain-link fences we didn't even have, and hinted that my household lacked community spirit. Her favorite phrase, protecting property values and children from dangerous influences. And then, as if the universe hadn't had enough fun at my expense, she announced her grand plan. The Maple Crest Youth Safety Initiative, really just an excuse to ban scooters, kites, and joy. Bethany took it all the way. Homemade sash that said safety first in glitter, violation tickets printed on cardstock, color-coded charts for every danger, yellow for chalk, orange for bicycle bells, red for water guns. She posted these at every corner like we lived in a dystopian sitcom. She even set up a hotline, really just her cell phone, where you could report recreational violations. Nobody called, unless you count the prank call about suspicious happiness at the Henderson house. Saturdays, she'd patrol at 7 a.m. sharp, whistle in hand, clipboard swinging. Her shrill peal the neighborhood's new alarm clock. Folks started timing their coffee runs to avoid her. Kids hid their skateboards. Dogs barked. Babies cried. Grown men peeked from behind curtains hoping today wasn't their turn. She once spent nearly an hour measuring and documenting my garden gnome, which she claimed was positioned aggressively. And, I started writing everything down. Every weird interaction, every note, every fine, every time she glared at Milo's football like it was a biohazard. That notebook in my kitchen drawer, didn't know it would end up thicker than my mortgage papers. It all boiled over one ordinary Saturday afternoon. Milo and Jake from next door were tossing the Nerf ball. Nothing wild, just the usual. Ball bounced onto the HOA's sacred strip of common green, the same 4 feet of grass Bethany guarded like Buckingham Palace. She strutted over, phone out, announcing in her megaphone voice. She'd been practicing, mind you, weaponized projectile in a shared zone. Then, she reached into her floral tote, and suddenly there's a pistol in her hand, pointed right at 2 little boys. For a heartbeat, the world stopped. Birds, sprinklers, everything. I didn't even think, just moved. Planted myself between her and the kids, hands out, said no. In a voice so calm it scared me later. I told Milo to get behind the truck and call his mom, and then dialed 911, keeping my eyes on Bethany as neighbors started pouring out of their houses, phones raised, faces pale. Bethany kept ranting, red-faced, spittle flying, talking about standards and injuries and property values, waving that gun like she was on a battlefield and the Nerf football was a live grenade. By the time the deputies rolled up, it felt like the whole street was holding its breath. The officers moved with quiet authority, took the gun, separated us, started asking questions. I handed over my phone with the video, pointed to Tom next door who had his own angle, pulled out the thick folder of every email and fine. One cop read through it and gave his partner a look that said everything. When they asked Bethany for her concealed carry permit, she admitted it had expired months ago, but claimed she meant to renew it. Her posture shrank, visor wilting. When they pressed about HOA authority over common areas, she spun a wild story about implied powers. When they asked if pointing a gun at kids was de-escalation, she actually nodded. You could see the deputy age 5 years on the spot. Witnesses lined up to talk, each statement more damning than the last. Harold, the HOA vice president, a guy you'd barely notice at the mailbox, joked nervously about how Bethany once threatened to detain scooters with zip ties. The deputy repeated detain with a kind of tired disbelief. Suddenly, Bethany wasn't president anymore. She was a suspect. Charges rained down. Aggravated assault with a deadly weapon, child endangerment, brandishing, and for good measure, filing a false report. She called 911 herself and said the kids were rioting. Yeah, that happened. 2 kids, a foam ball, and she called it a riot. Court dates came fast. Judges, it turns out, don't look kindly on folks waving guns at kids over toys. Neighbors sent in every email, every video clip, every weird newsletter, like it was karma, delivered in bulk. At the trial, the prosecutor played her megaphone training footage. Bethany in the gazebo, practicing tactical pointing stance with a spray-painted hairdryer, complete with whooshing sound effects. The jury stared, mouths open. My Ring camera footage rolled next. Clear audio of the Nerf ball, my steady voice, and that gun's safety clicking off. The judge's eyebrows shot up so high I thought they'd hit the ceiling. The prosecutor paused the video at the exact moment Bethany aimed at the boys. You could have heard a pin drop. Bethany's lawyer tried to argue she was maintaining neighborhood safety. The prosecutor just read out her email about the dangers of hopscotch, where she called it a gateway to vandalism 3 separate times. The jury foreman actually snorted. Her own character witnesses, bless him, couldn't even keep straight faces. One admitted she'd measured his mailbox every week for 3 years. Another revealed she kept a spreadsheet tracking garbage retrieval times. Her witnesses were doing more damage than the prosecutor. The verdict was fast, guilty on every count. The judge's voice was clear as glass. 8 years in state prison. Not probation, not community service, real prison time. The bailiff took her sash as evidence. It looked pathetic without her strutting around in it. Bethany's face cycled through every shade of pale, her mouth opening and closing like a fish in the sun. She actually asked the judge if she could serve her time as an HOA committee assignment. And for a second, the courtroom cracked up before the judge's gavel slammed down. Her last words, as they led her away, were something about grass height regulations, and the door swung shut on her little reign of terror. Outside the courthouse, neighbors hugged, shook hands, a few wiped away tears. Milo got his Nerf ball back, and that night, as I tucked him in, I realized, sometimes, standing up to the loudest voice in the room is the only way to bring back a little sanity. But you know, not everybody agreed with how it all went down. Some folks said it was about time, others whispered about overreach. What would you have done if it were your street, your kid, your piece on the line? Drop a comment. Let's hear where you stand. Like, subscribe, share your own stories, because out here in the real world, justice isn't always as clear as black and white paint on the curb.